Hi everyone, it's Cole from FCP Euro, and today we're going to be doing an oil change on our Mk8 Golf R behind us and showing how it also works on your Volkswagen GTI. We're going to be installing our oil change kit from FCP Euro, and that's going to be including a Hangst oil filter, a drain plug, a crush washer for that drain plug, and we'll be using Liqui Moly's 0W30 that is specified for this vehicle. Now, the specification on our Golf R behind us is going to be a VW50400. Again, that's VW50400. That may be different for your vehicle, but since this is our application that we're using today, we specified the oil for that Golf R. So the service interval for changing your engine oil from Volkswagen is every 10,000 miles and every year. However, at FCP Euro, we recommend every 5,000 miles and every year. The reason why they're doing that 10,000 mile service interval is so the overall cost of ownership is going to be lower on that sticker on the window. Now that we've gone over all of the parts in the kit, let's go over the tools we're going to need to complete this DIY. The tools needed for this DIY include a T45 socket, a 32mm socket, a set of ratchets, these are going to be 3/8, a torque wrench that can be set to 30 Newton meters, a 90-degree pick, and optionally are a OTC Drain Plug Pro kit that I find very handy for removing the drain plug, a pinch weld adapter plate for our jack, this is made by Super Pro, and we have a fluid extractor that we can put down the dipstick tube to extract our engine oil if we don't want to drain the engine oil through the drain plug. Now that we know all the tools that we're going to need for this, let's get into our DIY. All right, so we already have the hood open on our Mk8 Golf R, and you'll see here that we have a gas hood strut instead of the hood prop. It's an awesome upgrade to do, and we do have a DIY video on that as well. With the hood prop here, sometimes it can get a little bit in the way, so not only is this a functional piece for just lifting the hood, but it serves a little purpose when we're doing this engine oil change as well. So if your vehicle does not have an engine cover like ours here, don't be alarmed. There is a recall for that, and they will be coming out with an updated engine cover. But if your vehicle does have an engine cover, it's just 4 little rubber grommets that attach it. So grab the engine cover, pull right up, and set it to the side. Now that we have the engine cover off, we can start by removing the engine oil cap, setting it to the side, and using a 32mm socket with a ratchet to loosen the oil filter housing and allow the oil to start flowing. Now, we're not going to want to completely remove it at this time because we need to let some of that engine oil drain out of the filter assembly. So we're just going to loosen this right above where that O-ring sits in that housing and let the oil drain out of it. One tech tip that is very nice, you can take the ratchet and the socket and leave it on that oil filter housing to give you some kind of indication that we still have to replace this. Now, we discussed 2 different methods how to extract the oil out of your vehicle. Right now, we're going to be extracting the oil using a suction pump out of the dipstick tube. So we're going to pull the dipstick out, set it to the side. We're going to select our appropriate sized hose, insert it into the dipstick tube until it hits the bottom. Now, we don't want to shove it too far. We just want to make sure that it's at the bottom of that dipstick tube, which will be at the bottom of your oil pan. Once we have that inserted, we're going to connect this to our extractor setup. So there's going to be 2 ways that you can extract the fluid using this kind of extractor. You can use compressed shop air, or we can use a pump on the handle. And I'm going to use the pump to show you how to do this at home. Now, we're going to want this engine a little bit warm because engine oil is going to be very thick when it's cold. So we want to run the engine for about 10 minutes until oil is up to temp. But we don't want it too hot because we don't want to burn our hand if we are pulling that drain plug. So usually I find 10 minutes is a magic number when removing engine oil from a vehicle. One reason why we are doing an extraction method is because it's actually approved by Volkswagen. And we want to show you how much oil really is removed. Now, as mentioned before, this fluid extractor can be used in two different ways. A pump, as so, and if you have shop compressed air, you can apply it and open the valve to speed it up a little bit. All right, it looks like we have extracted all of the engine oil via the dipstick tube, and now we're gonna remove the extractor assembly, go underneath the car, and show you how to drain the engine oil using a drain plug, and we're also gonna verify that no more engine oil is left in this car. We are safely now underneath the car, and I have my oil drain bucket here, and we previously sucked out all the engine oil via the extractor, and that's pretty promising. I'm not hearing much in there. So we're gonna show you, if you don't have an extractor, how to change the drain plug and the drain plug seal and pull all the oil out of it. So we're gonna need a T45 socket with a ratchet. I have a 3/8 ratchet on this one, and we're gonna break this free. Just get a little bit of effort to crack that off. And I've recently started to use this tool by OTC. It's called a Drain Plug Pro Toolkit. What's really great about it is that it allows you to loosen the drain plug without having to fish it out of your oil drain pan. So as you can see, I'm just loosening it here, and I want to see how much oil actually is coming out. We're just going to let this drain into the cup because I want to see actually how much oil was left in there. Now, a reminder, this is a procedure that is approved by Volkswagen. And if your car engine oil is cold, it may not have drained enough from the oil filter housing back into the oil pan. So we are capturing a little bit of oil here, but it's not a ton. Now, when removing the engine oil from the drain plug, this is a good time to inspect the actual oil itself to make sure that you have no metal particles or weird stuff in there that could affect the engine. And this engine oil looks really pretty. And once we drain all of it, we'll take a look what's in this cup here. All right, so we let the rest of the engine oil drain out, and we're to the point where the engine oil has a slow drip to it. This is an indication that we can now reinstall our drain plug and torque it to spec. For the drain plug, we're gonna wanna make sure that the smooth side without the seam on the crush washer is facing towards the engine oil pan. So we're gonna install this crush washer onto our drain plug like so. Again, we want to make sure that the smooth side of that drain plug crush washer is facing the engine oil pan. Once I have my crush washer on there, we're going to want to thread that into our hole here. Do as much as we can by hand. We're going to grab our torque wrench that is set to 30 Newton meters with our T45 socket. Make sure that we are properly engaged all the way in the drain plug, and slowly torque this to 30 Newton meters. I'm gonna take a blue shop rag and we're gonna just wipe off all the excess oil. We can use a little brake clean if it's dirty underneath here as well, but since there wasn't much oil residue, I'm just gonna wipe it off and give it a nice polish. All right, now let's safely lower the vehicle, return to the engine bay, and finish this engine oil change DIY. As we stated earlier in the video, we initially extracted all the engine oil using a vacuum extractor from the dipstick tube. So when we pulled the drain plug, we actually used a plastic cup to capture all of the oil that came out of it. And we wanted to see how much was actually left. It may look like a lot, but this is a very small cup. And this oil could have been sitting in an oil filter housing, dripping down, or other parts of the engine dripped down into the oil pan from the time that we extracted all the engine oil in the engine bay and then went down to drain it. You can always have a longer extraction time with your oil extractor to try to get the last drop. And if you really want to make sure that every single ounce of engine oil is out of your vehicle, you can always pull the drain plug and let it drip out to your liking. With that said, let's get back in the engine bay and finish this job. We can remove our socket from the oil filter housing and remove the oil filter housing altogether. Set it aside, and then remove the oil filter cartridge. A habit that is good to get in practice with is always inspecting your engine oil filter after removing it. I'm looking for debris, chunk, metal, maybe the filter deteriorating, and everything looks nice with this filter here. With my new Hengst oil filter, I'm going to install it into the block by pushing down like so. Now with my new engine oil filter installed into the engine, we're going to remove the old oil filter O-ring from our housing here. So we're going to want to take our new O-ring provided in the kit, place it within the groove here, rotate it around, and make sure that it is in the right groove, which is right where my pick is pointing. Now once that's on, we'll take our glove with a light coat of engine oil, run it around the outside of the seal, so when we go to install this, it has some lubrication and it won't bind up on that O-ring. Now that we have this new O-ring on the oil filter housing, we're going to install it like so, thread it in by hand as much as we can. Now with this threaded in by hand, we can take our torque wrench with the 32mm socket, set it to 25 Newton meters, that's plus or minus 5 Newton meters, and torque this oil filter housing. We don't want to go super tight with this because it is plastic and it can easily break. With the oil filter housing installed, we're going to be pouring our oil in. We're going to be using Liquimoly 4210 in this DIY video. This meets or exceeds Volkswagen spec for this vehicle, which in this case is VW 50400. However, this is a Golf R, so we're going to be using a 0W30. The oil capacity for this vehicle is 5.7 liters, which equals 6 quarts. So we're going to just pour this full 5-liter jug into here. Now that we finished pouring our 5-liter jug into the engine, we're going to take our dipstick here, pull it out, wipe it, reinstall it, and then check the oil level again. Now it is on the top of our oil dipstick here, and that is normal. Now we're going to wipe it, reinstall the dipstick into the dipstick tube, and reinstall our engine oil filter cap. Now we're going to start the car real quick and let it run for 1 minute to circulate all that engine oil throughout the vehicle and the filter housing, and then check our engine oil level again. We've had the engine here running for about 30 seconds to a minute, so all of the oil should be circulating throughout the engine right now. Once that's done, we will turn this ignition off, go back to the engine bay, and check the oil level for the one last time. Now it's hard to see, but it looks like the engine oil is at the bottom of our dipstick here. So we're going to go grab our funnel. So let's reinstall this into the dipstick tube, remove the engine oil filler cap, and add a little bit more. I have my 1-liter bottle here, and we're just going to pour a little bit more engine oil in, check again, probably about maybe a quarter and half of this. We don't want to overfill our engine oil, so the more steps you take, the better. I'm about halfway, so a little bit more. Finalize that final oil level, and then we will reset the service interval. All right, so we're going to be checking our engine oil level here for the final time, and we just pulled this out, and we're right at the top of that level here. Now, if you're going to be doing track days or driving this car very aggressively, it might be a good idea to fill that engine oil up to the 3/4 mark on the dipstick, just a little bit below the top, to allow for some expansion of the engine oil when we get it really hot. I'm happy with how our engine oil level is, so we're going to remove our funnel here, reinstall our oil filler cap. One thing to mention, here at FCP Euro, we recommend checking your engine oil level every 1,000 miles to ensure there is no oil consumption or engine oil loss. Now that we've completed our engine oil change, we're going to reset our service interval by turning the ignition on without starting the vehicle, pressing the right arrow button over on the right side of our steering wheel, scroll to the travel time/distance menu, hit the right arrow button again, scroll down to long term, hold that right arrow button down for 10 seconds, then release, and then we will enter our service menu. Once we're in our service menu, we're going to scroll to reset oil change service. We're going to press the OK button, and then it will ask us in the middle of the screen if we want to reset it, and we'll press OK again. Now that that's all done, we can turn off the ignition. And that concludes our engine oil service DIY on our Mark 8 Volkswagen Golf R. If you've liked what you see in this video, please be sure to hit that like button. And if you have any comments, questions, or concerns, drop them in the comments section below. And we have a lot more DIY videos for the Mark 8 Golf chassis and many others coming to our YouTube channel. So be sure to hit that subscribe button. My name's Cole from FCP Euro. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.